If you are running any kind of funnel right now and you are not using a qualifying survey between the opt-in and upsell, you are leaving 30 to 50% of your conversion on the table. Now, most people think this is data collection, and of course it is, but that is just a surface read. That is what amateurs actually see, is the survey page, and this is how it actually looks. There is a VSL, and this is module 1, and then you have bunch of questions in here, and we are going to break down every single detail of this page also. Let's actually know what is this page doing. Page 2 loads right after the viewer opts in from page 1. They already committed. The transaction in their head says done. Now here's the part that most info business owners would look at and say it's just a thank you page, but it's not. Page 2 is doing two jobs that the rest of the funnel cannot work without this page. First, it's harvesting commitment from the viewer through a sunk cost mechanism. By the time the viewer finishes this page, they've invested time, energy, and emotional disclosure. That investment makes them way more likely to say yes to the next page, which is going to be the upsell page. Second, it's collecting segmentation data that will be used to price the upsells with precision, and it will also be helpful for future product launches. And just to know like who is actually watching your content, who is actually coming, who is your ICP, who is your primary avatar. Now let's actually talk about how Iman constructed VSL for the page 2. Now the headline is simple. Your registration is almost complete, but you need to watch this video. The VSL is short. It's nothing crazy. It's about 2 minutes. And the way Iman structured is doing something that most mentorship guys doesn't even look and think about it. The VSL opens with a loop reopener. Iman says something like, before you close this page, there is something important that I need to tell you. And that's the exact screenshot. That single sentence does the job most info creators completely miss. Most education creators completely miss. The viewer just opted on page 1. In their brain, they are done. The transaction is complete. They're about to close the tab. But this sentence stops them. It reopens the loop. It says you are not done. And now the viewer brain opens the loops, so they keep watching. Now in the middle of the VSL, Iman introduces alchemy of self. Now here's what is interesting. Iman again doesn't explain what this actually is. He just names it. He describes it as an AI tool that is created at a detailed version for your future. But he does not show it. He does not demo it. He doesn't tell you how it works. It just tells you this. This is for your future. And the name Alchemy of Self, it is something mystical, personal, and ownable. Compare that to what most educators, most info creators actually do and create lead magnets, a free guide, unlimited template, quick start PDF. This is different. These names is basically doesn't create the curiosity. The brain reads Alchemy of Self and goes, what the heck is that? And now when you come to the end part of the VSL, in the last 30 seconds, Iman actually does something crazy. Okay, Iman says casually, after submitting your survey form, you are going to have an option to get a VIP ticket upgrade. But this is 100% optional, even though I think it as a no-brainer. This is a keyword right here. No-brainer is a keyword, and 100% optional is also another keyword. I'll come back to this line because that one line is doing 4 jobs at once, and it sets up everything what happens on page 3. So now let's actually look at the 7-question survey and the move that nobody talks about. This 7-question survey looks boring, but it is actually simple and it does a lot of heavy lifting for the future launches. Question 1 is about the viewer age. Question 2 is about whether they have tried an online business models before or not. Question 3 is the highest education level of the viewer. Question 4 is about the viewer's current job. Question 5 is the current monthly income. This is an income qualifier. Question 6 is about like how long they have been following Iman. And question 7 is if viewer has actually purchased any online program or not. These are simple questions, okay? And the options are very limited. But this is where things get interesting. Now, most people think this is data collection. And of course it is, but that is just a surface read. That is what amateurs actually see. What actually is happening is much more dangerous, okay? The survey is doing the work that the entire sales letter would normally do. Let me explain. It's surfacing pain, but the viewer doesn't realize it because the viewer is the one disclosing the pain themselves. This is what actually happens, okay? In question 2, when the question is about have you tried any business attempts previously, the viewer asks himself. They probably remember dropshipping, they probably remember Amazon FBA losing money, or they probably bought a course, they watched 15% of it and they shelved it. The viewer is now sitting in their own history of failure, and failure, my dear friends, is the keyword. Now look at question 4. It asks about the current job, and the options are simple, okay? And answering this will definitely trigger something psychological to the viewer, because they think about how they commute, their boss, if they're doing a job, the salary that hasn't moved in 3 years, or if you are a freelancer, you are basically stuck working in Upwork or Fiverr, and the viewer is now sitting in their own dissatisfaction. Genius. Now look at the 7th question, okay? If you purchased a course before or not, that is the question about. And the viewer answers it, and while answering it, they remember the money they spent on courses that they never finished. Now this question is actually a little bit dangerous too, but Iman is so confident that he just thinks that his offer is a no-brainer, and that's why he asks this question. Okay, so basically the viewer is now sitting on their own track record of wasted spending. By the time the viewer hits the question 7, they already have admitted to themselves that they have failed at business before or at the job they don't love, and their income isn't where it needs to be. And they have a habit of buying things and not following through. Now, Iman and his team just did not write a single line of copy for pain. The viewer just answered those questions and they just witnessed the pain themselves. This is that dangerous move. This is why it is most dangerous on this entire funnel, because on surface it doesn't look like something great, but psychologically people go through this stuff. Self-disclosure beats persuasion every single time. When a pain is written on sales page, the viewer defensive mechanism activates, and then it just makes them think like this guy is trying to sell me, and then they will push back. But when the pain is disclosed by the viewer themselves, there is no defense, because the viewer is the source and the viewer cannot argue with themselves. Now that is genius. So by the time the viewer arrives at page 3, they are in the perfect emotional state to buy. They feel broke, they feel stuck, and they feel like they have wasted years and money on the things that did not work. And page 3 is going to offer a clean way out for $25 as a VIP ticket. So I want you to pause now and make a note of this, because if you are running any kind of funnel right now and you are not using a qualifying survey between the opt-in and upsell, you are leaving 30 to 50% of your conversion on the table. The survey is not just for data every time. The survey is for the self-disclosure of pain. Now you know, so go and implement it after watching this entire video. Now let's come back to the line that actually closes the sale before the sale actually happens. After submitting the survey form, you are going to have an option to get a VIP ticket. This is 100% optional, even though I think it has a no-brainer. Now, if you read this sentence 3 times carefully, this is one of the most well-written sentences, okay, well-engineered sentences in the entire funnel. It does 4 jobs in one sentence. 1, it pre-frames the upsell. Okay, the viewer knows the upsell is actually coming. So when they actually land on page 3, they're not surprised. They were warned about this. And the defense mechanism is actually gone because they are now aware of this. 2, the words 100% optional. This is taking away the framing. Like when you tell someone that they do not have to buy, they're most likely to buy because you remove the pressure. And the pressure is what which creates the resistance. Take it away, the resistance goes with it. Job 3 is the word, even though I think it's a no-brainer. Iman just told the viewer what the conclusion is supposed to be. Before they have ever seen the offer, the brain receives the verdict even before the evidence. And when the evidence arrives, the brain tries to match it with the words that he has spoken. And job 4, it protects Iman's integrity. If the viewer feels upsold later, they cannot accuse of Iman tricking him because he already told them in advance. He even called it 100% optional. So Iman gets to an upsell aggressively while still appearing fully transparent. And that is a brilliant move once again. So that one sentence is doing 4 jobs that most info and education creators do not pre-frame their upsell at all. They drop the upsell on the next page and they just hope that people buy. Guess what? People are going to be frustrated. because they didn't know what was coming. And this is why Iman's upsell convert much higher. And that is why if you see, there are 34,000 people who have bought the VIP upsell for an average price of $20, which we have calculated. Okay. So if you have an upsell for your business right now, find a way to mention it before the prospect even gets there. Okay. One sentence at the end of the previous page, something like, you will see it as an optional upgrade, completely up to you. But based on what we have seen, people who upgrade get 3 to 5 times better result. That's it. Watch your upsell rate move up like what Iman's did. 34,000 people buying a VIP ticket is just crazy. Now that is the wrap up of page 2 of registration page.